Hello everybody and welcome back to the monastery. Today we'll be going over the Fighter Subclasses to give further insight into the class. This will be a two-part video, starting with the player's handbook in this part and Xanathar's guide to everything in the next part, seeing as how those are the two most available sources for new players. Because of this, today we'll be looking at the three subclasses from the player's handbook, Champion, Battlemaster, and Eldritch Knight. And we're going to start with the more simpler of these classes and go more complex as the video goes on. By simple, I mean that there aren't as many options to keep track of and the potential number of people you can affect with these options is lower, which starts us off with Champion. As a champion, you focus on raw power, sharpened to be an effectively deadly weapon. Because of this, the first thing you gain at level 3 is the improved critical ability, which allows you to score a critical hit on a roll of 19 or 20. After that, at 7th level, you gain the Remarkable Athlete feature, which lets you add half your proficiency bonus, rounded up to any strength, dexterity, or constitution check, if you don't already have your proficiency bonus. So if you're trying to make a sleight of hand check and you're not proficient in it, you can add half of your proficiency bonus. In addition, when you make a running long jump, the distance you cover increases by the number of feet equal to your strength modifier, which is going to be your strength modifier minus 10 divided by 2, round it down. So if you have 16, your modifier is going to be 16 minus 10, which puts you at 6, divided by 2, which makes it 3. At 10th level, you gain the additional fighting style, which allows you to choose a second option from the fighting style class feature, which we went over in the Fighter vs. Monk video. At 15th level, you gain the Superior Critical feature, which allows you to score a critical hit on a roll of 18, 19, or 20 for your attack rolls. And at 18th level, you gain the Survivor feature, where at the start of each of your turns, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus your Constitution modifier, as long as you don't have more than half of your hit points remaining, and as long as you aren't unconscious with 0 hit points. The next subclass we'll be looking at is the Battlemaster subclass, where you utilize martial techniques passed down through generations to be incorporated into your fighting. At 3rd level, you gain Student of War, which allows you to become proficient with one type of artisan's tools of your choice. This could be calligrapher's tools, smith's tools, brewer's tools, or anything of the sort. You also gain access to Combat Superiority, which lets you learn maneuvers that are fueled by superiority dice. You learn 3 maneuvers of your choice at this level, and you gain 2 more every time you gain a feature for this subclass. And every time you learn a new maneuver, you can replace one of them with a different maneuver. One that you already know with a different maneuver. So you also have superiority dice, of which you start off with 4 d8s. A superiority die is expended when you try to use a maneuver, and you regain all of your dice when you finish a short or a long rest. And you gain another superiority die at 7th level, and another one again at 15th level for a maximum of 6. And at level 10, your superiority die upgrades to become a d10, and at level 18, they upgrade to become a d12. If there's a saving throw required for one of your maneuver's effects, the DC is calculated by 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your strength or dexterity modifier, of which you get to choose. So for the sake of this video not gaining too much length, I have the maneuvers listed on the screen for you right now if you want to pause and take a look at them. I'll probably have them up for another 10 seconds or so. And these just explain all of the options that you have when you're using a superiority die or the maneuvers that you pick when you gain this subclass. For the rest of Battlemaster, at 7th level you gain Know Your Enemy, which allows you to spend a minute around a creature, and you get to learn something about them compared to you, whether they're your equal, superior, or inferior, and you get to choose 2 of the following characteristics. from strength score, dexterity score, constitution score, armor class, current hit points, total class levels, and total fighter class levels, if they have any of the last two. At 10th level, as I said earlier, your superiority die turn into d10s, and at 18th level they turn into d12s, so that's both your 10th and 18th level ability. And at level 15 you have Relentless, allowing you to start combat with at least one superiority die. So if you roll initiative and you have no superiority dice remaining, you will regain one. The final subclass for this video that we'll talk about is the Eldritch Knight. You learn that tools alone might not solve every problem, so you decide to incorporate magic into your fighting style. When you pick the subclass at 3rd level, you learn Weapon Bond, which allows you to cast a ritual that takes an hour between yourself and a weapon. And as long as the weapon is within your reach throughout the ritual, at the end you form a bond with it. When the weapon is bonded with you, you can't be disarmed of the weapon unless you are incapacitated. And as long as it's the same plane of existence as you, you can summon your weapon as a bonus action, teleporting it instantly to your hand. You can have up to 2 bonded weapons and can only summon 1 at a time with your bonus action. And if you try to bond with a 3rd weapon, you have to break the bond with one of the other 2. So think of it how in Percy Jackson, if he loses his sword Riptide, he can just summon it to his hand. It's like that. You also gain spellcasting, which is something that you don't really do in any other melee class, except for some subclasses. But pretty much you're going to be a pseudo-wizard as part of this subclass. So you can gain 2 cantrips in the wizard spell list, and an additional cantrip when you get 10th level. You get spell slots, which I'll have a table up to show you how many spell slots you have at any given level at later on, as well as how many spells you'll know from the wizard spell list. Intelligence is your modifier for all of this, which allows you to determine your spell save, which is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence modifier, as well as your spell attack modifier. For spell attacks, in much of the same way that when you do a melee attack, you add your dexterity or strength modifier depending on the type of weapon. When you're casting an attack spell that doesn't require a saving throw, you add your proficiency bonus and your intelligence modifier instead of your strength or dexterity. Now, as you can see from this table, you start off with 2 cantrips, 3 spells, and you have 2 1st level spell slots. That means every day you can cast 2 wizard spells per long rest. Even though you know 3 spells, you can only cast 2 of them that require spell slots, but cantrips you can cast any number of times. The other thing about this class is that you can only learn Evocation and Abjuration spells, which are destructive and protective spells. Unless you hit 8th level, 14th level, and 20th level, then you can learn any wizard spell. So you can learn up to 3 wizard spells that are from any school. So things like Haste, which I believe is Transmutation, you can't learn until you pick up a 3rd level slot, which doesn't happen until 13th level, but you'd have to wait till 14th level before you can actually learn that spell. And just sort of the nuances that follow with that. So this is like basically fighter with mini wizard. You're like a warcaster in many different ways. And so for the rest of Eldritch Knight, at 7th level you get War Magic, which allows you to make a bonus action attack after you cast a cantrip. Cantrips are the free spells that you'll get from the wizard class, and normally, when you cast a spell, you can't make a weapon attack at all in that same turn. This allows you to work around that a little bit. At 10th level, you gain Eldritch Strike, which allows you to impose disadvantage on a creature's saving throw against the spell that you make if you attack them with a weapon until the end of your next turn. So if you hit them twice with a weapon and you use your Eldritch Strike, then your next turn you can cast a spell like Burning Hands, which they won't be able to easily pass since now they have to roll twice and take the lower roll. At 15th level, you gain Arcane Charge, which allows you to teleport 30 feet when you use your action surge, and you can use this teleportation before or after you take your additional action, which lets you move around the battlefield a lot easier. And this actually gets a buff at 17th level when you get a second use of action surge per rest. And then at 18th level you can improve War Magic, where now you can make a bonus action attack after any spell that you cast as opposed to just the cantrips. So anyways, that'll do it for this part. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for stopping by, and hope to see you again next time where we go over the rest of the Fighter Subclasses from Xanathar's Guide to Everything.